I'd like to invite up Thomas Waugh to introduce our guest speakers for tonight. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Cinema Politica never shows old movies because they think no one's going to show up, and you have proved them wrong tonight. So it's very exciting to see you all for this wonderfully canonical and historic Canadian film, 25 years later, restored in all of its beauty. Well, that will be nuanced later. But it's great to see you all. And before we start this film, I just want to remind you it's a double celebration. We're also celebrating the launch of our new queer film classic book on this film, Forbidden Love, Unashamed Stories of, it's not even on the cover, Unashamed Stories of Lesbian Lives and Loves, right? Lives. An exciting new book. And so, buy Christmas presents for everyone from the Queer Film Classics series. They're on the two tables. And after the screening tonight, the two co-authors, who I'm going to introduce you to in 1 second, will be seated out at the table in the lobby, signing your new copy of Forbidden Love for free. Okay? Will the filmmakers also be signing? And the filmmakers will also be signing also for free. Okay? And one of the stars of the film and the cinematographer of the film, they're also here, and they will also sign your book for free. Okay? So it's very exciting. Before we start the screening, I'd like to introduce you to the two co-filmmakers and the two co-authors of the book. And at the end, before the Q&A, we'll have everyone come up to the front who was involved in the film. But right now, you only get to meet 4 people. Okay, so it's my great honor and pleasure to introduce the two co-directors, Lynne, Fernie, and Aerlyn Weissman. Please come up and say hello. And the two co-authors of the book Forbidden Love, Jean Bruce and Gerda Cammaer, who are both Concordia PhD graduates. You want to say hello?
I would like to say hello. I'm so thrilled. I think this is the first screening of the remistressed Forbidden Love since the copyrights were re-cleared in Montreal. So you're seeing it first, and we're all on pins and needles here. I'd like to thank Cinema Politica and Arsenal Pulp Press and Matt and Tom for bringing us out. And I know we'll have some thanks after too, because there were people originally in Studio D, the feminist studio. Long may their work live in the film board, and then some new ones that we'd like to thank at the end of the screening. But we're so thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Tout le monde. It's a delight to be here in Montreal and at this screening. I haven't seen the film in quite a while, so I'm looking forward to the screening. And thank you, Tom and Janine and Gerda, for pulling this together. And I just flew in from Vancouver yesterday afternoon, so I'm really delighted to be here. Thank you.
And speaking of queer film classics, I forgot to introduce you to my co-editor on this wonderful series of 19 books, Matthew Hayes. So Matt, you come up here. Matthew dragged his whole queer film course here tonight, so he gets special credit.
And I'm taking attendance psychically, okay? Hear it, bitches. We were at a screening of this, Tom and I, a screening of this film when it premiered at Imagination 25 years ago, and in the Village. And you wouldn't believe there was, I think, a 12-minute standing ovation. Yeah. It's that powerful. It's still every bit as powerful as it was then.
A word from Jean and Gerda.
Well, thank you all very much for coming here. Here's the book. I used to spend a lot of time in this room as a student, mostly organizing speaker series. So it's really great to be on this side instead of on that side of the audience. Anyway, I'm very happy to be here, and we're very happy about the book. We're so thrilled that we had so much great cooperation with the filmmakers to fill us in on a lot of the blanks that have been lost over time and that we couldn't necessarily get from the NFB. So we're very happy about that, and we're thrilled to be back in Montreal.
I'm not just a PhD graduate, I'm also from the communications program. I'm also a graduate of the Mel Hoppenheim School of Cinema as a filmmaker. And I would like to say that without the film, there wouldn't be a book. And I think it's important to remember that. And it was great to write this book because the film is so inspiring that it was very easy to write it. Not necessarily the process afterwards, but but I just want to say, one of my first classes at Concordia, I was introduced to Tom Waugh exactly in this room. So it's a long tradition, Tom. So good to be back. Thank you.
I also want to introduce Lynne Adams, the co-star of the dramatic sequences of the film. And Zoe Durst, oh, did you disappear? Where did you go? Here she comes, the cinematographer for the film.
Guys, this way. Come closer.
Anyone else from the NFB?
Who's worked on the film? Stand up, if anyone managed to make it.
Ross Higgins,
Higgins.
From the Archive Gay du Québec. Come on down, Ross.
Yeah. He was enormously helpful with all those archives. And I guess there's no one, but I would like to do a shout out to Monica Gagnon, who I'm sure is one of the best profs at Concordia. For going through all, while I was making this film, she was co-editing a film on artist-run centers with me and giving me drugs and support in her misspent youth. Totally. It's particularly poignant to see this because Nairobi has died. There's only a couple of the women in this film. Keely has died. Lois has died. So many of the women died, and every single one of those women agreed to be in the film, even though it wasn't time for them to be out. It was early. It was in the late 80s, early 90s. They wanted to tell their stories to you, to us, to those of us who weren't there. So it's very poignant that we could bring this film back so that they could speak to you even though they're not here now. So we dedicate this to them. We talked to 40 women across Canada. We did audio tape interviews in Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver, and occasionally here and there. And we did a lot of research, but we got all of those stories. We transcribed a lot of them, we listened to them, and we tried to ask people into the film who could paint a portrait, like someone would bring this experience, someone had this relationship, someone had that. And they kind of chose us too, because some of the women we invited to be in the film could not be in the film. One woman was a social worker, she was working with youth. With Amanda White, the Haida woman, it took her a year to see if she could be in the film because she was already dealing with teaching youth, and she was afraid to lose her community. And I have to say, the opposite happened. Her community embraced her. But basically, they kind of chose us. Some of them really wanted to be in, others couldn't. And others we had a wonderful woman from Montreal, Hélène Blais. I don't know if you know her. We filmed her. We couldn't cut her stories. Her stories had to be 25 minutes long. There's no way. You couldn't intercut them. So we kind of chose them that way so that they could talk about the different aspects. Oh, fantastic. I mean, we had a screening at what was then Festival of Festivals at TIFF, to their largest cinema. And I mean, people had really been waiting for it. And I have to say, this is where we want to thank the woman who did the illustrations and the graphics, Val Sears from the Film Board, and the illustrator who illustrates for Harlequin Romance. Because it was really hard to find anyone in the art world that could draw people anymore. You know, at the time, it was conceptual. So we had to go out and talk to Harlequin, and you know. But it was really, really well received. I think when you get the book, both Gerda and Jean have really gone into not only how the film was made, but its reception. And not only then, but also because we relaunched it in the spring at the Berkshire Women's History Conference, how it's been received. I mean, I don't know, you guys, who here had never seen it before? So was it still alive for you? I mean, it sounded like it was.
Actually, my favorite screening of all the ones that I went to was the one here in Montreal at Imagination. There was a sense of the audience following every moment, and they got it. They got every moment of the film. They were just with it throughout in a way that I found so remarkable. And it was a very beautiful screening, and yeah, it was celebrated. But I always, I mean, I have said, even if this was a terrible film, we'd still be looking at it, because there is nothing else that documents that era of that group of people, long form, feature length, in Canada about Canadian lesbians. There is nothing else.
One of my favorite screenings of the film happened in another university in Ontario with Lynne at the screening, and a very earnest young woman who I knew, in fact, was a little bi-curious at the moment, and she said to Lynne, "So, what inspired you to do this film?" As if it weren't already obvious after having watched the film. But anyway, Lynne graciously, said, and said, "We thought of it as a recruitment film." And I thought that was the best response and the best screening that I'd seen. Anyway.
No, I've heard many stories just meeting people and finding out that various, that it was a recruiting film, that on the way home or when they got home and talked to their mother, who then started discussing a crush that she had on someone. It really opened some eyes. Another friend who does counseling has the poster up, so when you walk into her office, you have to see the poster, and that's sort of how she decided who she would accept as clients, depending on how they reacted to the poster. There are various, there are many stories of how it's affected people's lives.
We have like 40 audio tapes of all those research interviews, and some of them have been digitized at Simon Fraser. I'm about to give my basement archives to U of T, to the Media Commons there. And what I would really like is to talk, they would love to have the outs, and they have a film preservation area. They're not interested in copyright, they're interested in research. So that's really the next step now that the film is out again, is to get, because we shot everyone for 30 or 40 minutes, and the stories that aren't in the film are extraordinary. Like, a lot of them were in small towns, like the Commie Plumber in Trail, BC, and toe sucking in Victoria. I mean, how can you not want to write your thesis on that? But they're not available now, but I'm hoping to have a drink with Michelle later and talk to her about it. We had an all-woman crew, so it was more like a coffee klatch than they only look like your grandmothers now. I'm looking like your grandmother now. It's not my fault. But However, no, but we wanted the intimacy, and we got it. Zoe's work behind the camera, talking to her, she flirted with every one of them. Why don't you say something about that, Zoe? Because your relationship with them was amazing, and
Yeah, well, it was an amazing experience, and I think the biggest part for me as a crew member and being responsible for the look of it was Aerlyn almost, she told me I had to make every single woman look absolutely beautiful. So it was always a challenge to sort of find the best spot and do the lighting properly. And one of my favorite is the cowgirl.
Healing. Yeah.
Keely, because when we got there, I had not seen the location, and that cabin was just so amazing, and the way she was dressed. And I said, Aerlyn, we have to shoot this outside. And very rarely did we have people standing up during a 40-minute interview. And Aerlyn said, no, she has to sit down. And Keely looked at me and said, no, I can do this. So that, I'm very proud of the way the film looked, and it was a very collaborative experience for all of us. And I think that was the magic of it, because you just knew it was going to be amazing.
And as soon as we started, we met Lois and Jean through the Lesbian Oral Project in Toronto. Typically, we would go for lunch or cookies and sit down, and because we were gay too, we'd have these great discussions. And in a number of cases, people would, even before we left, would be on the phone to someone saying, Betty, we've got these two sweet girls here. You really need to talk with them. They're really great. And they would send us off. And the thing that I loved about so many of those research interviews was we would start off with the cookies. And yeah, that was a big deal, wasn't it? And the person...
Martinis here.
yeah, martinis.
Oh,
Carol, martinis
true. Okay.
for breakfast.
Well, more than just cookies, yes, yeah. But
Thinks we're such wusses.
it would often start off with a woman saying, I don't know why you're talking to me. I just had the most ordinary life. I didn't do anything particularly, not a big deal. I don't know why you're talking to me. And when we left 2 hours later, they were like, I'm a part of lesbian history. They just, their lives meant something. I think, we brought that what the things that were, wonderful for them, as well as the things that were difficult, were meaningful, and that they were a part of something really important, and they claimed it. It was so exciting when that happened.
Those women survived through their sense of humor. That was what gave them power. I mean, as they were being beaten into complete deviancy and sickness and, queerness in the worst way, they survived. Every single one of them talked about their sense of humor. We would have been really negligent not to include that in the strategy of the film in terms of addressing you as an audience of 25 years ago, who already had different references than anyone who's under 30 today, has completely different. So yes, we absolutely did, and they told those stories, and how awful would it have been to make them dour? I mean, it would have been really outrageously negligent. I mean, almost immoral, I think.
In fact, we did prioritize working with women, and I think we still do. When you look at overall the allocation of money, resources, it's not an even playing field by any means. And when I end up on these panels of where various topics, but where there's money to train women, and there's no money for them to go into production. And this has not changed very much. The stats are horrible, right from local stuff, right to Hollywood, of women's participation in the key creative roles in most filmmaking. And in addition to that, as a value, as feminists and as a political matter, I do remember when we were filming with Nairobi, we'd done these pre-interviews. She's fabulous and she was a really neat person. And so we got in, we got everything set up in the bar. That was shot in the bar there where she performed, and started the interview, and suddenly we're getting these kind of odd answers that really kind of steered around what we had talked about. And at some point, I looked around, I realized there were two guys in the room. It was the bar owner and
Yeah, she knew them.
Yes.
I mean, because she had actually done gigs in the club when she was younger, so she knew them. She changed her stories.
But as soon as they were asked to leave, and as soon as they left, we were back with the girls and telling those stories, and that made it pretty clear that that was important, that it was the coffee klatch, minus the coffee in many cases.
This film was made a while ago, and I've had a very successful and lucrative career. I'm a working actor in Montreal. And it still remains one of the most prized things that I've ever done. And to see it here tonight and to see that it's still valid and it still touches people and it still works is amazing. From a socio-economic, political level, that's great. It was just so much fun to do. Oh my God. And to answer your question, I've worked on a lot of movie sets and a lot of film sets. And this was the only time that I got to be on an all-female crew. And to do the love scene with an all-female crew, I've done the other thing too. And let me tell you, day and night, black and white. This was so much fun. We had room to be creative. We felt safe. We played. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.